Buckingham Palace stood grand and timeless in the heart of London. On a crisp, sunny afternoon, the palace's ornate iron gates gleamed like polished gold under the summer sun. Crowds of tourists, families, and admirers had flocked to witness the daily ceremonial display of the Queen's Guards. Their bright red tunics and towering bearskin hats contrasted sharply with the classic architecture of the palace, a symbol of tradition and imperial dignity. Among the gathered visitors was Alexander Montgomery, a man whose reputation preceded him. As one of the wealthiest tourists in attendance, Alexander was known for his ostentatious behavior and entitled demeanor. Dressed in a custom-tailored designer suit and sporting flashy accessories, he embodied the very notion of luxury and arrogance. With his expensive smartphone in hand and a perpetual smirk on his face, he sauntered among the crowd as if he owned the very ground upon which he walked. Alexander had flown in from his affluent life in New York City, expecting nothing less than admiration and often the international spectators. Instead, his sense of entitlement would soon ignite a controversy that would reverberate far beyond the palace walls. The atmosphere at Buckingham Palace was electric. Children squealed in delight as they caught glimpses of the stoic guards, while elderly tourists beamed with nostalgia. Amid this orchestrated display of tradition, Alexander's attention was singular. He was intent on making his presence felt at any cost. As Alexander wandered closer to the barrier, his eyes caught a particularly striking royal guard, Sergeant Nathan Blackwood. Known for his unwavering discipline and reputation as a decorated veteran, Nathan had served faithfully for many years. His posture was as resolute as the stone pillars behind him, his expression measured and composed, traits that had become synonymous with his role. But Alexander's misplaced pride could not tolerate the guard's unyielding gaze. In a moment that defied decency, Alexander's arrogant sneer twisted into a look of contempt, and before anyone could intervene, he stepped forward and spat directly onto the face of Sergeant Blackwood. Time seemed to slow as shock rippled through the crowd. Gasps erupted and smartphones were raised, capturing the shocking act. The spit, a symbol of contempt and disrespect, landed on the guard's immaculate uniform. For a fraction of a second, the bustling square fell mute, a collective disbelief settling over the gathering. Sergeant Blackwood's eyes narrowed, but his expression remained eerily composed. The royal protocol dictated silence and restraint. Yet, that single act of insolence set into motion a chain reaction that would soon transform the spectacle into a dramatic confrontation. Sir, Nathan finally said in a voice that was both controlled and brimming with silent authority, "Please step back." Alexander, buoyed by his own arrogance, scoffed and retorted loudly enough for the crowd to hear, "I can do what I want. I'm a rich man, I answer to no one." His words dripped with disdain, and with that he took a few more steps forward, as if daring Nathan to react. The moment had been captured from multiple angles. The crowd began murmuring, some in outrage, others in bemused disbelief. Tourists clutched their devices tightly, as if the unfolding drama was a performance meant solely for their entertainment. However, beneath this transient chaos, the true gravity of Alexander's actions simmered like a slow-burning fuse. Within seconds, the situation escalated beyond a mere spat. The royal guards, traditionally known for their stoicism, were now visibly alert and poised. Nathan's disciplined composure began to show the slightest hint of tension, an imperceptible tightening of his jaw, a sharpening of his eyes. His entire being radiated readiness to defend not just the honor of Buckingham Palace, but the very dignity of his role. A murmur rippled through the crowd as bystanders began questioning the propriety of Alexander's behavior. "How dare he?" whispered one onlooker, while another exclaimed, "That's outrageous." The guard's fellow colleagues exchanged glances, aware that even a single act of disrespect could ignite severe repercussions. The tension was further intensified by the unmistakable roar of approaching security. Officers, already on standby for any breach of protocol, swiftly began to encircle the scene. The air was charged with anticipation, a volatile mix of shock, indignation, and the solemn expectation of justice. Amidst this increasing cacophony, Alexander maintained his defiant posture. His arrogant laughter clashed with the rising murmurs of protest. Cameras continued to record every fraught second, and social media notifications began to light up even as the scene played out live before countless spectators. In that charged moment, Nathan took a decisive step forward. The guard's calm exterior, honed by years of service in conflict zones and high-stakes situations, served as both armor and warning. Without a sudden outburst, he extended his gloved hand, a gesture of restraint, yet signaling that the time for indifference had passed. "Sir, you will come with us," he stated firmly, his voice laced with authority that left no room for argument. Alexander's face contorted in incredulity, his bravado momentarily faltering as he witnessed the unyielding determination of the guard. The crowd erupted in a collective exhale, a mix of relief and anticipation, while the unruly tourist's defiance began to crumble. News of the incident spread like wildfire. Within hours, snippets of the altercation had already gone viral, and Alexander's face-to-face marked by arrogance and now unmistakable regret was splashed across headlines and social media feeds. As the dust settled around Buckingham Palace, questions began to arise. How could such an act of insolence go unpunished? What consequences awaited a man so brazen in his disregard for royal protocol? It wasn't long before the matter reached the courts. Alexander Montgomery found himself summoned to appear before a magistrate for charges related to public disorder and contempt of duty. The courtroom itself became a stage for a showdown between entitlement and accountability. On the day of the trial, the atmosphere was tense. The courtroom was filled with journalists, curious onlookers, and members of the public drawn to the unfolding drama. Alexander sat in the defendant's box, his usual arrogant demeanor now marred by anxiety. His lavish suit and meticulously styled hair stood in stark contrast to the stern, disciplined aura of Sergeant Nathan Blackwood, who was called as a key witness by the prosecution. Nathan recounted the events with clinical precision and narrative that left little doubt about the gravity of the offense. "I have served under many challenging circumstances," he stated calmly, but that day, the incident was not merely an act of disrespect. It was an attack on the dignity of our institution. The defense tried to paint Alexander as a misunderstood man, a victim of the chaos inherent in crowded tourist spaces. But as video evidence played on a large screen in the courtroom, Alexander's actions were laid bare. The footage showed him spitting, mouthing off, and then stubbornly refusing to comply with the guard's clear command. As testimonies mounted, so did public opinion. Social media exploded with debates about respect, authority, and the meaning of accountability. Many praised Nathan's measured response, while others lambasted Alexander's behavior as emblematic of a deeper societal issue: the unchecked arrogance of the wealthy. In the courtroom, the tension grew palpable when the judge issued his verdict. Alexander Montgomery was found guilty of public disorder. The sentence would serve not only as a punishment, but as a strong message that disrespect toward those entrusted with guarding the nation's heritage would not be tolerated. As Alexander was led away in handcuffs, a hush fell over the courtroom. The incident, once again, was a vivid reminder that even amid the splendor of tradition, justice would always prevail. The day Alexander Montgomery spat on Sergeant Blackwood's face was not just an isolated moment of arrogance, it became a catalyst for discussion and reflection. The incident forced a renewed dialogue about the role of the Queen's Guards in modern society, the importance of respect and duty, and the need to hold individuals accountable regardless of their wealth or status. For Sergeant Blackwood, the experience reinforced the profound responsibility that came with every polished button and unwavering stare. He returned to his post, unbowed and unbroken, a quiet sentinel preserving the legacy of honor. And for the rest of the world, it was a lesson etched in time. True strength is not measured by wealth or entitlement, but by the courage to stand up for what is right even when faced with unthinkable disrespect.